and Nick.
Welcome to That Superhero Thing podcast, where we discuss the latest superhero and comic book movies and TV shows. I'm your host, Nick, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Anthony.
Hello.
Are you alright?
Yeah, not too bad.
Second podcast of the week, Anthony.
Yep.
We recorded because we
busy
are
week
talking.
this week.
It's a what?
Busy week this week.
It was a busy week. We've watched a whole episode of Loki, and we've already dropped that podcast on Friday. And now we are doing our Black Widow review.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to go through this because it's like when I watched the movie, because we watched it last night straight after we recorded the Loki review, and I was really unsure because we talked about it on the way home, didn't we? And it was a bit like, was it really good, or was it okay? I don't think it was a bad film at all.
No,
I didn't, and I don't now. I appreciate it more now that I've had time to think about it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't having the same reactions as I was seeing on Twitter. So I was seeing like people on Twitter going, "That was amazing, that was brilliant," you know, one of the best MCU movies, and I was kind of like, well. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Is that just
excitement though, because you haven't seen one for so long?
Potentially.
But then I'm also thinking the last Avengers film that we had, other than Spider-Man, it was all the hype to Endgame and stuff. So I don't know whether the hype from all of that still kind of makes something like Black Widow that can't be on the same level as Endgame.
No.
Kind of
seem not as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Far From Home was big.
Yeah,
and we've literally just come off the back of episode 5 of Loki, which was massive and epic.
Yeah.
And then to have this, which again, you know, we'll do the full review in a sec, but it just I appreciate it now that I've had time to think about it and like do the notes for the podcast and, you know, really sort of dive deep into it. Yeah. I do appreciate it more, but I'm quite looking forward to sort of breaking it down. I've got some theories. Okay. I say some theories. I've got a theory, and I think I'm right with this one.
I'm excited.
But what we'll do is do it a little bit differently to how we normally review things. We're going to do a non-spoiler review first, because we are dropping this on Sunday, and just in case anybody hasn't had a chance to see it, we obviously want everybody to be able to listen in. So we'll do non-spoilers first. We'll go through what was good, what was potentially not so good about the movie, and then we will give you a full spoiler warning before we start talking about it. It's going to be a proper mean feat for me to go through this and edit the non-spoilers so that anytime we cock up and put a spoiler in, I edit it out. But we'll go through it. So non-spoilers then. Like you just said though, it was amazing to finally be back in the cinema watching an MCU movie. And do you know what? When that Marvel logo and the music came on at the start,
the grins on our faces.
It was amazing. It was just absolutely brilliant.
We both just looked at each other and were like...
It was just sad how excited we were. It's literally a Marvel logo and a little bit of music, and it was just like, this is the best thing. This is just absolutely brilliant.
As soon as I just said that, dun, 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 I was like, exactly. Oh, we're back.
We're back
This is
it. And even though we see that on Loki, like, it's on Loki, isn't it, every week?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but it's still just being in the cinema and it being like, this is the big film now. Obviously, we know why it's taken so long for it to come out because of COVID, but I can't quite grasp how it's taken so long for us to get this movie, because Scarlett Johansson did a brilliant job all the way through it and easily carried this movie. Yeah. And with her backstory and like how many characters we've seen in this, they could have got multiple films out of her and her story. Yeah. And it 100%. Just feels like a bit of a shame that we're not going to get another one. No. I mean, I suppose we've sort of brought it back from the dead for this one, haven't we? But we're not going to get another Scarlett Johansson.
So did you feel like, because I think I felt this a little bit. Did you feel it was a bit rushed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel that they had to. Again, non-spoilers. I think it was, they introduced a lot of characters that we've never met before. Yeah. And we got really into those characters, and we really explored their backgrounds and what was motivating them. Yeah. To the point where all the supporting cast, or pretty much most of the supporting cast, were great. Yeah. And I thought, you know, I'd love to see them in future MCU movies. Yeah. But because there were so many supporting cast members, it took up a lot of the film getting to know them, rather than the actual story progressing. So it felt like it was a movie of us meeting them and then a story tagged on at the end.
I think that would have been better as a series.
Yes. But I think you need it. I completely
8-episode
get
series. I think that'd work.
Did it given it more time?
Yeah.
I agree. Do you know? I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, I agree. But I just don't think you could have given. I think they needed to give Scarlett Johansson a movie. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It would have worked better, and it kind of felt like a bit of a waste, because again, you know, we'll explore it more in spoilers, but these characters are great. Yeah. And the vast majority of them, I don't think we'll ever see again in the MCU. No. There's a couple of obvious ones, particularly for people who've seen it, but most of them, I just don't think we'll ever see them. No. But they're fantastic characters, and we spent a lot of the film getting to know them,
Yeah.
and then we're just not gonna see any more of it. But yeah, as I said, Scarlett Johansson was brilliant in it. She carried it. She should have had her own movie, multiple movies. When you've got like Thor and Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know it really picked up in Ragnarok, but after Thor was crap. Even after Thor 2 was garbage. They should have just stopped making Thor. I'm glad they didn't, but I'm surprised they didn't just go, do you know what, pack that in and move on to somebody else. Yeah. Supporting cast as well, without getting into spoilers, or some of the supporting cast. Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova. I've literally, you've not even seen my notes. I've got Florence Pugh, Yelena Belova, phenomenal.
Yeah.
She was 100% the standout.
Yeah.
She was hard as nails, but hilarious at the same time.
Yes.
But also, she's got some really emotional scenes where it's like you're really bought into her.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, we talked about this when we talked about like Thor Ragnarok, how the Marvel movies and TV shows all seem to be following the same sort of pattern, that they're turning the heroes into badasses who are able to be really comedic at the same time, like Thor, and she's got
that balance perfectly.
Probably even better than Chris Hemsworth has as Thor.
She
was absolutely spot on all the way through. David Harbour as Alexei Shostakov.
He's made me laugh so much.
You obviously, if you've seen trailers, you'll know he's basically the Russian version of Captain America. Again, really similar to Yelena in that he's got the comedy and the emotional side. Not as sort of deep as Yelena does, and it's kind of like covered by the comedy a little bit. But he has got like quite an emotional story arc all the way through. But I don't feel like he was necessarily given enough to do.
I was about to say the same thing. I don't think he was given enough.
I was waiting for something big to happen with him.
Yeah.
And we never, again, this isn't spoilers, but he just doesn't really have that big moment in the film at any point.
No.
And I just feel like it was potentially a little bit of we'll go into it in a bit more detail when we get into spoilers, but he was great, but they could have and should have done a lot more with him by far. And then the final sort of supporting character that I go through at this stage is Rachel Weisz as Melina Vostokov.
Yeah.
She was definitely the least like in your face of the supporting cast. She's quite quite a quiet character to a degree. Would you say
she holds herself a particular way, doesn't she?
Yes.
In comparison to the others.
Oh, definitely. They're all like loud
everyone
and brash.
Outlandish.
Yes.
In like a certain way, but she's quite held together and reserved is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But then she's also got quite big moments in
100%.
the storyline.
That's the tone of the character.
Yeah.
That is, she is made off that character, and again we'll get more in spoilers, but that is her sort of thing. She is quite quiet. She's quite difficult to read.
Yeah.
And again, that's not down to her, Rachel Weisz's acting ability or anything like that, or even the way the character.
No, that's totally intended.
It's fully intended, and it works really well.
Yeah.
I think we've already said the story itself. So to review the story, I think it's a solid movie all the way through. Oh, not all the way through, maybe not. It's a solid film. It starts off really, really strong. First 5 minutes, and I was just like, this is going to be
amazing,
brilliant.
Yeah.
And it does well, but it just struggles a little bit towards the end.
Yeah.
Particularly at the third act, it just sort of goes. It takes a sharp dive at one point, and I think a lot of it is down to what you said. They're trying to cram a lot in. If you'd spaced it out more, it would have been all right. And again, without getting into spoilers, it proper suffers from Marvel's villain problem. Yeah, because the villain is just a bit meh. Not that you don't get their motivation,
again, if
but
he'd have been explored more, we'd have probably absolutely hated
this
him, and it would have been brilliant.
Yeah.
But I think in this, it was just like, is there?
The villain needed a whole episode of a TV series focused on that villain to really establish the motivating, what they're all about, the backstory, and it does it kind of does a good job of trying to do it quite quickly. Yeah, but it's just you don't get to the point where you care really about them. And I think with a good villain, you need to. It's like with Thanos, it all makes sense. It's not just I want to destroy things, whereas this was. I just want to destroy things and be a bad guy. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't It doesn't really work well. It needed longer. You are again. I've not thought of it. It needed to be a series. It needed to be an 8-episode series, 100%. Post credit scene again, without getting spoilers. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I was quite. It had that. People had said it had that gasp
the
moment.
Whole time going, where's this going?
I know. Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, hang on, I think I know.
Yeah.
And then
Don't leave the cinema. It's right at the end. It's not mid credits.
We were sat in there and there were people going, oh, it's not going to happen. It happens.
Have you ever been to a Marvel movie, people? Honestly, what are you doing?
I did think to myself,
how many people got up and left?
I know.
It's just like,
I was so shocked.
It's like, this was
on.
on.
We've now had 23 movies. What is your life if you're leaving?
But it's like, who are the... It sounds really bad, this. Who are these people? It's like, England... Literally, we missed the England game last night so that we could record... Because that's how dedicated we are. Me, Andy couldn't give a shit.
I couldn't care less.
I missed the England game to what the semi-final to go to record the Loki episode podcast and go to the cinema. And unsurprisingly, the cinema was quite quiet.
Yeah.
But you'd think that the only people in that cinema were people who were like hardcore. Yeah. I need to watch this Marvel movie first night,
and it wasn't.
And there were a few in there, but I was just gobsmacked at how many people left. But it's a good post-credit scene. Make sure you stay. It does set things up moving forward. It's not one of them waste of space post-credit scenes. It's a good one, so make sure you stay for that. We'll talk about it in a bit more detail in spoilers. And then all I'd say is it's definitely worth watching. It's a really good send-off for Scarlett Johansson. Yeah. Really good. Obviously, it's not spoilers to say that she's dead, but and then spoilers, she doesn't come back to life at the end.
What?
I know, gutted. And it sets up. I think it does a really good job of sort of setting up. Surprisingly, how much it potentially is setting up the future of the MCU. Yeah, it's good. Can we let rip now and do spoilers? Yeah, let's do spoilers. Okay. So we're not gonna. I know, obviously, we normally with the reviews we go through like every sort of step of the movie, but I couldn't find a plot written down anywhere, so we're not going to. We're just going to sort of take little bits of it, and I say that, and then
we will do what's old school and call it winging it.
We will. I've got notes, but they're not very good. And I sitting there saying that I'm going to start at the opening, which is obviously the obvious place to start. Amazing,
such a good opening.
Do you know what though? Before we even get to the music, which is I've got lots to say about it. It threw me at the start because they've all got American accents, including David Harbour and Rachel Weisz. Yeah. And I was thinking, Marvel have completely thrown us here. Yeah. This is not going to be like anything we thought it was in the trailer. No. It's going to be completely different, and we've got a different backstory to what we even thought it was going to be. Yeah. And it doesn't. We very quickly realised that they're all just sort of, apart from the kids, David Harbour and Rachel Weisz are just putting it on and sort of proper method acting that they're these undercovers. But yeah, it did really throw me at first. But the whole thing from pretty much the moment when David Harbour gets there to the house, so intense. I know. All the way through. The escape really good. Was fantastic. Really good straight away. But it was when... And I don't know whether I missed something here, but at that point, were they purely escaping because they knew that he had the floppy disk? Is that what we're assuming? Yeah, I get the impression he's been after... Because apart from him having that in his possession, I didn't really understand... why I think the US government were onto that. He's got it, and the US government are onto them. So it's like, we need to get out of here now. Yeah. It just shocked me that they were shooting at kids as well. Well, they were, but they know they were, because they know it was Russia. They know they were Russian spies. Like the kids could be like sleeper agents or anything like that. So it's just like whatever it takes to get that. We need to do it. But it was again. The whole sequence was brilliant. Yeah. Like David Harbour on the wing of the plane and Nat flying. Brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And then it got, after they had escaped, you think, it's all going to be happy now and we're all right. Yeah. Very dark, very quickly. Oh my God, yeah. Like really dark. Like that little girl, Yelena, the 6-year-old, getting dragged from what she thought was her dad. And screaming and crying. It's hard, isn't it? I can't even talk. Just listening, talking about it. It's like, probably harder for you because you're a dad. I've got a 6-year-old little girl. Yeah. And it's like, it's tough. Yeah, it was tough to watch, and it is tough to talk about. And it was just heartbreaking. It was horrible. And then... But young Nat, them moves that kid's got. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. She did a really good job. For the very short amount of time she was in it. Yeah. She did a really good job. And then the opening music. It Smells Like Teen Spirit by Malia J. I think apparently it is who sang it. If you'd said to me We're gonna apparently it's quite an old song, I think, because I've listened to it about 10 times.
That's not been recorded specifically for the film.
I don't think so. No,
it just looks like
it seems. I might be completely wrong, but because I've not tried to go and research this, it's literally just I was under the impression it was made for the film, and I've listened to it a couple of times today. But there's a couple of YouTube videos where people are sort of tagging it onto X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Oh.
And they're like 4-year-old videos. So I wonder whether it was off the soundtrack for that, and it's just been sort of repurposed. But it was. I'd never heard it, and if it said to me, "We're going to do a cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana," I'd have been like,
at the beginning of Black Widow.
Well, not even that. Just you can't cover that. I'd have been like, you can't cover that song. It's Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. You're never going to get it as good, anywhere near as good, and it's very different. Obviously, it's brilliant.
It's amazing.
It's haunting.
Yeah,
literally all the way through, and the sort of the visuals that you get over it. Yeah, they're just as bad. We said it's obviously not like child trafficking. Well, it is child trafficking, but it's not like sex trafficking or anything that. But it's got that vibe. It's got that really dark, horrible vibe. And I think Marvel 100% knew what they were doing with that to get that tone, but keep it a Marvel movie, really. But yeah, really enjoyed the start of it. What were you going to say?
No, I've just remembered when they get to Alexei, so I'll say
later on. Okay. Because I've got bits where we go through like all the different action scenes and stuff. I thought that it had that sort of opening though should have set the tone for the film, and it didn't. I'm not going to rip the film to pieces because I really did enjoy it, but the first even past the opening, like when you start seeing like Nat and stuff like that, and she gets attacked by Taskmaster. The whole film has it's very James Bond anyway. The fact that we have the opening action sequence and then we have the music over it, which is good. But it had a real like Taken feel to it at the start, or like a new style James Bond sort of tone vibe all the way through. Yeah. And very quickly it became a bit of a 70s style Bond movie, in my opinion, like a little bit cheesy in part and a bit tongue-in-cheek, and that's fine. That is fine. It just threw me because that's not how it started. It sort of started off as one type of film and then moved very quickly to another type of film. And if it had been 70s style James Bond from the start, I think I'd have enjoyed it more because it would have just been that's it. But it just felt like it. I think that's why it felt like it went downhill a little bit towards the end because it
was kind of like they didn't make a final decision.
The tone was just completely off all the way through. I wish it had stayed really dark and gritty all the way through, but it didn't. Maybe we'll get a director's cut. So the story of it, again, we're not going to go through the whole story bit by bit. I'll very briefly read through what I remember of the story. So the gist is it's set between Civil War and Infinity War, isn't it? Yeah. Nat's on the run from Ross, General Ross. Meanwhile, Yelena is working for Dreykov, who's not dead. Yeah,
I think in fact we find out as well that it's the point where a majority of the Avengers are at the prison.
Yeah, the raft. Yeah,
they're
all like locked up. It's basically her and Steve. Who haven't been arrested, isn't it? Yeah. So Dreykov, she's working for Dreykov, and her and the other widows, because they keep calling them the widows, they're being mind controlled, which I thought was a bit silly. She finds a way to rescue them from. So Dreykov ends up sending his Taskmaster after her, which we'll talk about Taskmaster in a bit. And then basically she teams up with Nat, and then together with Alexei and Melina, they basically go after Dreykov and finally bring down the Red Room. That is the gist of the story, isn't it? Yeah. That's it. And it just felt a little bit rushed. Yeah, it's a good story and all together, but it's like you said, it just felt. I've literally got it written down. It felt a bit rushed. We spent a lot of time getting to know all these supporting characters, but you're never going to see Melina again. No, I'm not convinced we're ever going to see Alexei again. I'm not convinced, and I'll be gutted because I would love to see something else with the Red Guardian in it. And we didn't get. I don't know. Maybe we'll get maybe we'll get a prequel series and he'll be in that or something. But and we'll talk more about the characters in a bit. But he didn't get a big moment at the whole film, and the closest he got was his part of the fight with Taskmaster, which but he didn't win. I can't remember it. He didn't really win. That's why. It just wasn't. It just again. Fantastic, it was a good. It should have been a good story, but they needed to spend more time on it. Yeah. I loved the family dynamic though.
Yeah.
All this talk about family with Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious, it just made me think this is like done it, to be fair, better and less sort of tongue in cheek. There's no cars in space or anything like that.
It hasn't taken 9 movies to get there.
It hasn't taken 9 movies, no. She should have been on. She should have been on more 9 movies, yeah. But I did really like that. I thought the whole family dynamic was really good, because even though they'd only been together for 3 years,
it's proper family banter though, isn't it?
Yeah, all the way through.
I mean, like, because I know we're going to go back to like Alexi's escape from the prison and stuff, but that first moment when all 4 of them are back together
around
at
the
pig farm, and then like just it's straight off, like there's just that typical family banter going back and forth. You know, she's named a pig after Alexi, and all of that kind of stuff. Like, it was just hilarious.
The flirting between Melina and Alexi is amazing.
And
it's
then
the look
like, no, don't stop it.
And Elena's just like, but I need to go. I need to go, sort of thing. And then her, like the youngest sibling, storming off to her bedroom
with a bottle of vodka.
With a bottle of vodka, yeah. I loved that all the way through.
That was brilliant.
So let's get a bit more into characters then. So I mean, the first one I've got written down is Ray Winston's Dreykov. And we've got tag Taskmaster onto it as well. I think they tried to use that opening montage to give him his backstory. Yeah. Because we got all the flashes of him with Bill Clinton and basically him, you know.
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't. And I feel like they expect us to, and I mean, we're pretty hardcore. We've got a podcast. We're pretty hardcore Marvel fans. Yeah. But I still don't feel I know enough about Dreykov. No. It was very sort of assumptive that we'd all just know.
This is what I mean about like the 8-story TV series or something. If we had like more flashbacks to the indoctrination of all the women and stuff like that, if we had something about those camps and him running that, and you know, all of that kind of stuff from like 20 years ago before today's Natasha and stuff, like that probably would have given us a better standing on that. Even that, I mean, because obviously we know the fact that she thought she'd killed him.
Yes.
And it turns out she hasn't. If we'd have had more on that, an episode with her and Barton doing that mission, just one episode, just so that you get that part of the story. Like, you know, it's those kind of things that I just feel were opportunities missed.
We should have had 8 episodes. We should have had the first 3 episodes was us getting to know the cast. Yeah. Literally them getting to know the cast. Episode 4 should have been Budapest. Yeah. Episode 5, we shouldn't have met Dreykov at this point. No. We should meet Dreykov at the end. He's a ghost for the first 4 episodes. Yeah. We meet him at the end of episode 4, and then episode 5 is Dreykov's life. Yeah. And it's just him, so we get his backstory right up to the end of episode 4.
And we didn't know that he's not dead. Yes. So we think he's gone. Yeah. And then the last couple of episodes, it's the reveal of him still being alive, and then she goes for him. Yeah, like, exactly. It would have been so much better.
Exactly, yeah. But it was just, they tried to cram it all into 2 hours. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I think with what they had, and the fact that they had 2 hours, they did a pretty good job. Because there's so many times when we watch these movies and it's like, there's no character development in this whatsoever. But I feel like they've sort of neglected the story to give us the character development. Yeah. And that would be not necessarily okay, but it's, again, I keep coming back to it, the fact that it's wasted character development to a degree, because we're never going to see these people again, probably.
If we knew we were, we'd probably forgive them for this being a filler type of film within the overall story arc. Yeah. I think. But because we don't know that we're getting anything like that again, that's the bit that's just that little bit disappointing.
But I think that's it. It's not that it was rubbish. More, because it sounds like we're ripping it to pieces and saying it's a bad film. It's not a bad film. No. It's disappointment that we're not going to... That they've done so well with these characters, and we're probably never going to get to see them again, because they were
just
great.
That we're not getting that little bit more from it. Yeah. And again, you know, I've said this a million times on this podcast, we are spoilt now. Yes. The Marvel movies have constantly been outdoing themselves again and again and again. What's happened so far is we've got to Thanos. Then we've had the Spider-Man one, which with Mysterio and stuff, it was a massive movie still. It was really good, and it was still kind of reeling off Thanos. But now this is the first movie where we're pretty much, I say on to the next bit. It's not because it's just finishing off Black Widow's story. Yeah. But again, we've built up on levels, and then it's just dropped that little bit again. And I think that's part of the problem. And I say problem, it's not a problem, but I just think we've got high expectations now for Marvel. So if they don't if they don't hit it every single time, then yeah, we do kind of find a bit of disappointment in it.
Yeah.
But again, I would never in a million. It's much better than the first 2 Thor films.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not a bad film. It's just, and again, disappointing, a little bit annoying that it should have been bigger.
Yeah.
But I think it does come back to the fact that if they'd said we're going to give her own TV series, if they'd said it now, you'd have been, even without seeing the movie, you'd have been like, fantastic. But this was supposed to come out before all those TV series. So if you'd gone, you've not seen any of these Disney Plus films series yet, guys, we're going to give Scarlett Johansson her own TV series. You'd have gone, that's not fair. Don't give her a TV series.
Yeah.
Give her a movie. She deserves a movie. And she does deserve a movie.
Yeah.
But now seeing how good the series are, if I could go back, I'd be like, give her a series. And it probably would, if they'd kept that dark tone,
I reckon they might be
would have
kicking
been
themselves thinking should have been a series.
If they'd kept that tone from the start of the movie for a whole 8 episode series, it would have been the best. It would have competed against, because I like, my favourite MCU movie is The Winter Soldier, because it's really gritty and realistic.
For
For me, as great as Loki's been, that tone of a Black Widow movie or a series all the way through would have been my favourite by far.
Do you think though that if they'd have kept the tone the way it was, they'd have had to up it to a 15 rather than a 12? Because I think that's part of the problem as well, isn't it? Yeah.
But because it was very like adult.
Yeah.
This film, it was probably the most graphic, and not like it was full of blood or anything.
When
But it was quite full of blood.
When they first rescue Alexei from the prison,
he breaks that dude's wrist.
Well. Yeah, no, I'm not even talking about that bit. I'm talking about when they get in the plane and he goes, "Is it your time of the month?"
Oh, that whole conversation. I haven't even written that down.
Like that
conversation is just hilarious.
It is really funny because of the way that Florence kind of puts it across.
He puts her hands up and rips them down.
And she literally talks about how they've had the reproductive organs ripped from them, she doesn't hold back.
Yeah,
I'm not going to talk about it anymore because it's horrifying. But
yes,
she goes into gritty detail and it is fantastic.
I was literally
the way she does it.
Yeah, I was cringing and covering my eyes in the cinema, thinking, "What is this?"
We're cringing and covering, but I actually think it's a very good empowerment for women. In the way that she something horrendous has happened, but she owns it, and she kind of makes him feel tiny for his inappropriate comments, and that's what I love about it. I love that she's essentially put him in his place. She's so good though all the way through. We'll get back to her. But this is what I mean about that dark tone. I think if they'd have done any more than that, then they would have had to upgrade it to a 15, and I think that's why.
I'm surprised it was a 12. I mean,
I'm surprised it was a 12.
My son is 8, and he's seen not all of them, but he's seen quite a lot of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
He went to the cinema to watch Far From Home. We went to see it first without him to make sure it was suitable. It was all right. But there's no way in a million years I'd let him watch this on Disney. I was like, basically I'd said, well, I'm going to go to the cinema with Anthony, and we're going to watch it for the podcast, and then we'll get it on Disney Plus for you at the weekend. No chance.
Yeah.
You got no chance at all.
Oh, that's so sad as well, because he's probably got his hopes up on it.
I don't think he's that bothered, to be fair. I think it's more me sort of pushing the MCU on him. He used to like Batman, he doesn't anymore. So Dreykov, again, huge potential, but should have been a little bit more detailed. And again, right, I promise we'll start praising it a bit more in a minute, but let's get the other thing out the way. Taskmaster.
Oh God, okay.
Very disappointing with
Taskmaster. It was a disappointing reveal, wasn't it?
It was. I kind of got onto the fact. I didn't get onto it.
I didn't know that was going to be the reveal.
I saw in the opening credits Olga Kurylenko's name, and I thought she was a Bond girl. So she's Bond girl. She was Taskmaster. What was her name? She was Dreykov's daughter.
Yeah,
basically.
I can't remember her name.
When I saw her in the credits at the start, because she was in that Smells Like Teen Spirit credits.
Yeah,
she was like the 4th name on there.
Yeah,
and I was like, hang on. I've not seen her in any trailers. And then you get halfway through and it's like, we've still not seen Olga Kurylenko.
But there's a masked person.
But there's a masked person that was starting to go hang on, is this... No,
see, if I didn't know, maybe I'd have put 2 and 2 together, but I didn't.
Surely not.
Do you know what? I don't read the names at the beginning when I'm watching it.
I didn't notice anybody else's name. It's just that name popped up because I think it's like subconsciously when all these other names are popping up on the screen, it was like, well, I know them, and then you get past the 6th name and it's like random people you never heard of.
Yeah.
But she popped up fairly early on, and it just sort of jumped out at me, and it was like, whoa, I didn't know you were in this sort of thing. But I feel like it was I don't know. it was disappointing. I'd have been happier if it was Mason, O.T. Fagbenley, the guy who's helping Natasha.
Oh yeah,
because I think that's what that was hinted at, that it was going to be him, wasn't it? But
I liked Mason.
He was good.
He was good.
We'll talk
he wasn't in it a lot, but when he was in, he was good.
He was good, yeah. But yeah, I just feel like they departed massively from the comics, because obviously it's named Tony Masters. There's a guy, Tony Masters, in the comics.
I don't know.
And they took. I know it was still Taskmaster, but the point of Taskmaster is that he is just so well trained, and he can mimic all this stuff, and it's basically just down to, he's not got a superpower. It's just hard work, and he's just like absolutely on top. He's just on his game solid. Completely. Yeah. And they've taken it, and it's nothing to do with Tony Masters anymore. And she's a robot.
Yeah.
Basically, she can mimic all the moves of all these heroes, because they put a chip in her head and it basically records it, and her body
responds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just like it's completely taken away from. I mean, Taskmaster is a good Marvel character in the comics, in some of the cartoon series.
Yeah.
He should have been a bigger character. He should have been a character that was jumping in and out, like how Madam Hydra it seems to be doing so.
Yeah.
He should have been the character who was constantly jumping in and out of different movies as a bit of a baddie.
Yeah.
And he was just like, cocking up people's plans sort of thing. And again, it just feels like we've wasted him.
Yeah.
A little bit. And we've wasted her a little bit, and it was just a bit. Yeah, again, disappointing.
Yeah.
Should we get on to good characters?
Yeah.
So again, we've already talked about Natasha. She's always great in all. She's
always
films.
on, isn't she?
She's
always turned 100%.
On. She's brilliant. She was fantastic in this. I think it was quite. It kind of didn't complete her arc, because obviously that ended in Endgame, but it kind of bridged a gap, which only now looking back maybe didn't make so much sense, because all the way through the films, particularly for the first, pretty much up until Infinity War, she was always very like all about the job and quite cold, and didn't really have emotion, similar to how B-15 was in Loki before she found out she was a variant. She was always very cold, and then all of a sudden in Infinity War she wasn't, and in Endgame she's lovely and she's very emotionally and she's very caring, and I didn't even really notice the change massively, but this bridges it really well. It does. It shows you how she's gone from this hardened,
seeing them as family and stuff.
And like how much she's like, even like in some of the action scenes, like when one of the widows dies, she really tries to save this girl before she falls off the chimney, and it's like it's all about saving Draco's daughter at the end, and it shows the change in the character. And again, I think it again didn't complete the arc, but helped sort of flesh it out. I also like, though, how it's the first time we've ever seen her just being a normal woman.
Just seeing her in a hoodie and stuff, like it was dead weird.
Seeing her but not like trying to be like incognito sort of thing, like in Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
just seeing
not
her
the cap and the sunglasses.
Exactly,
just
normal clothes,
and
sitting at home watching James Bond.
Yeah,
and then in the car, just going in the car and listening to Sia in the car or something like that, just like normal music, and it's like she is just. It's the first time we've seen her as just a normal character, and I think they needed to, though, because they needed you to relate to her more.
Yeah.
In the film, if she'd been like hardened, like cold as ice, killer, assassin all the way through, you wouldn't have sort of bought into her. I
think in a way, like, I don't know whether you felt it as well, but I feel like as much as she was on the run, I think she appreciated the peace and quiet.
Oh, getting away.
Like, it's the first time she's not had to kind of be on guard.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of see total disappointment when Taskmaster appears the first time, and she's just like, I just wanted 5 minutes kind of thing.
But I bet though,
it's followed me.
I bet though for the character though, it would have been hard at first going to be a normal person.
Yeah.
Because she's so used to being like hard as nails and sort of constantly on edge.
Yeah.
Having to sort of like, and that's probably why she's watching James Bond films, because it's like, I've still got a little bit of action and this is kind of like my life.
Yeah. And I think like when she goes to Budapest,
yeah.
Like she complains about having to, like, that she's on the run and she could get caught any time, but I think she wanted to do it at the same time.
Yeah, like, so she's devastated when Taskmaster shows up, but it's kind of like, oh shit, we should leave me alone.
I've now got shit to do.
I've got a bit of a purpose again. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, she did really well all the way through. I've said it already in the non-spoilers, 100% carried this movie all the way through. Again, it was very heavily focused on Yelena as well, which we'll sort of talk about her more in a second, but she should have had her own movie.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Or TV series, I suppose. Yelena then. I know we've already talked about Yelena loads.
For me, she's standout, mate.
100%.
Like,
she's the best character in the movie by
absolutely
far.
Amazing.
And I thought it'd be David Harbour.
I thought it'd be David Harbour.
100%. And when I saw these reviews saying, she's brilliant all the way through it, and, you know, she's the standout.
Yeah. I
think we mentioned in the podcast a couple of weeks ago, it's like, I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
And wasn't really buying it. Like, I knew she'd be good, because I like Florence Pugh. She's a good actress. And pretty much everything I've seen her in, she's been good.
I'm not sure I've seen her in anything. If I'm totally honest, when I first saw her, I thought it was Hayden Panettiere.
I did.
I was like, I don't remember
Anthony's research at its finest there.
Yeah.
Have you not seen stupid question. Have you not seen Fighting With My Family?
No.
Where she plays it's like the true story about...
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a decent film. It's a true story from Paige in the WWE.
Okay.
You probably never heard about it.
No.
No, so it's good. She's good in that. She's good. Anyway, moving on. But I said everything I've ever seen her in, she's been good. Yeah. But I just didn't think she'd be this good, and I didn't think she's
amazing.
Take over the movie.
I think I've crushed on her a little bit. She's
so good all the way through. And again, it shows how good an actress she is, Florence Pugh, because she plays the three. We've already mentioned it. You know, hard as nails, cold-blooded killer to emotional. She just goes, like, when she storms off to her room with the bottle of vodka, she just goes back to being a little girl, and you buy it completely that is that 6-year-old girl who was crying at the start of the movie. But then the next moment, she's like slitting people's throats and all that sort of stuff, and giving us a full breakdown as to how her uterus was removed, and it's like, how she plays it absolutely brilliantly. And I think, again, you know, I didn't buy it that she was going to be the best part of the movie. I do now. I also, one of the, not problem that I had, but I didn't like, and it's similar to what we've talked about with Loki, I didn't like the thought of her taking over as Black Widow. And I thought that's where it was going, and they'd been hinted at, and people had been sort of suggesting that that's where the MCU was going to go, and she was going to replace Natasha. And in the back of my head, I was always like, I hope they find a way to bring her back, or I hope she is back. And you know, she got brought back by the snap. And now I'm not that bothered. I'm like 100% now, like this. She's the new Black Widow. 100% behind her. Going to be absolutely brilliant as it, and sort of like no hesitation as to wherever it goes in the MCU now. Again, standout character. Alexi then. Let's talk a bit more about Alexi. Hilarious, wasted.
So funny. And it was wasted, but the stuff that he got was pure gold. He
plays the goofy dad brilliantly. But at the same time, it's like he's a super soldier, but he's still he's a sitcom dad with the superpowers.
He's basically he's trying to, like, he's like this drunk mess who's trying to relive his glory days. That's the best way to describe it, isn't it? Like, he constantly, no matter what moment they're having emotionally, he then brings it back to him being the Red Guardian every single time. And it's like, you know, they're like, do you care about anything else other than all the Red Guardian?
But then he
he has a good tries the suit on, trying to get into it was so funny.
Absolutely.
And you hear him like making all the noises and they're like, ugh.
And then he comes out and he's like, it still fits. And it's like, it doesn't. And then Lena's like, you got fat.
Honestly, I think all that was missing was him going, it still fits. Just doing a breathe in.
And then buttons bursting and the zippers flying off and all that sort of stuff.
Or just hearing the squeak of the leather of it as he walks out.
Or just all the way the whole time they're sitting at the dinner table, just a constant tearing, really, really slow.
I think we need to make a video where it's them listening to him making all their moaning, and then it just cuts to Ross trying to get the leather pants on in France, because it's that type of thing, isn't it? It's so funny.
Going on to back to what you said about like him reliving his glory days. He constantly goes on about how he's beat Cap and how he's fought Cap. He couldn't have.
No.
Because he was 80s and Cap was in the ice.
Someone says that.
I know, so the guy whose army breaks.
So I think he
is lying, isn't he? Because I've got a question myself. He must be lying. Unless there was...
Cap went back, didn't he?
Well, I didn't even think of that. But there were other Cap... It's like there was Isaiah in Falcon and Soldier. So there were other Captain Americas, weren't there? So it could have been somebody else. Could have been Isaiah. It could have been Cap. going back.
Because although we know he went back to settle down,
Yeah.
like
He could have still
did
sort
he
of like...
fully settle down?
Yeah, because I can't imagine Steve Rogers, if he saw something going like sideways, he wouldn't step in.
Yeah.
He would 100%.
Yeah.
He couldn't sit there and go, it's not my problem anymore. It'll all be okay. He'd have to step in and sort of fix things, wouldn't he? So maybe. But again, I think that sort of the only criticism of not David Harbour or his performance, he just didn't get that big fight moment at all at any stage.
When he really sees his arse. When he's having his moment with Natasha, and then it's not Natasha, and it's
it's Melina with the face thing on. Yeah, it's good.
And it's like proper devastating. He was like, "It's having a real moment."
I know,
there.
yeah. That should have been my moment, sort of thing. Yeah, it's as if he knew. It's as if he knew as a
character. And
then
he actually sees Natasha. He's like, "Listen, I wanted to tell you something," and I just started laughing all over again
because he's practiced it all.
Yeah.
Right. So going on to Melina then. Again, because I think it took me out, after the film, sort of thinking about it, and I think it's quite easy to think of her as maybe the boring character, and the one who doesn't really get much to do.
And I think,
but that's the purpose of her character.
But I also think there's a bit of a stigma with Rachel Weisz because she's not been in a lot more recently, and some of the bigger stuff that she was in had a bit of backlash off it. I know the most prominent thing that I'd seen her in was the film with James Franco about Oz. I can't remember what they call it. Was it?
She was in that, wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oz.
And there was it just Oz?
The film about Oz. Yeah, Oz the Great and Powerful.
That's it.
Yeah.
And there was backlash over her acting skills on that one.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. And so that's kind of been at the forefront of my mind when I saw her on the screen because it's the last thing I've seen her in.
Yeah. There were a couple of moments, to be fair, where it wasn't perfect, like when she got injured at the end and she was kind of like hobbling and saying I've been injured, and I know she's supposed to be like, she played it really Russian, but it was a bit I don't know, just not quite there. It sort of took me out of it a little bit,
and that was why kind of at first I was a bit dubious about her, and then as I've kind of listened to the story and stuff, I've realised that it is her intent to be a little bit more reserved and stuff like that. I didn't know whether it was her acting at first, but now that I know that it's the character, I was 100%. Kind of like, okay, I believe it now that we've got more from her.
Yes.
But I really enjoyed that she had a very different tone to the rest of the family.
Yes. She was the mum. She was the sensible, calm. But even though she was sort of double crossing them and then kind of went and then double cross the bat. Yeah. But that was the character. You were supposed to be uncertain and uneasy, and she was supposed to be the quiet one who sort of like sunk into the background and you didn't really pay too much attention to, and she played it really, really well. And again, I'm gutted because I don't think we'll ever see her again.
No.
And again, she absolutely smashed it. I know we've already talked about it, but yeah, the whole flirt with Alexei was brilliant.
Love to see her do a cameo in Sword.
If
she gets recruited for Sword, because she's the research, she's a lab person.
Yeah. She makes all the stuff.
So she could make an appearance in Sword at some point.
Do you know what else was the pig? The bit where she stopped the pig breathing.
Oh my God.
That was dark.
I was like, when is she going to tell her to breathe again?
I was like, how did you let the pig die?
Conversations are carrying on, and I'm like, this is not okay.
It's not, no.
I was getting really wound up.
It was quite bad by Marvel. I was thinking, Marvel, you can't kill a pig.
He's still got 11 seconds.
He's got 11, so he could have held on for 11 more seconds, yeah? It's like, dark, but I still like that. She was good. Mason then, OT Fab Bentley, not Taskmaster.
No.
Funny, really likeable. Hardly in it.
Limited scenes, but...
How did he get his own poster?
I don't know.
He got... That was so that we thought he was
clearly,
Taskmaster.
That was a marketing
2
strategy.
minutes into the film, it's not him.
Yeah.
Because it can't be, because of how the sort of like how it's timed and stuff like that. Because like Taskmaster's off doing something while he's talking to Natasha, and it's like... So what was the point other than to create a bit of hype? Yeah. But he was good.
He was really good.
And
what
again,
have we seen him in before? Because I've seen him in stuff.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I think it's British stuff. I think it's a BBC thing.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what he's been in. But I know that I've enjoyed him in whatever he's been in.
I hope he pops back up.
I hope he.
He could do. I think it'd be very easy to bring him in because he was
It'd
working.
Be a bit like it could end up being a bit like a Q.
Yeah, well, he kind of is, isn't he?
That's kind of
his job. Like bringing
so
in
many
stuff.
James Bond themes in it, and then the fact that she's watching it as well. I think that was all.
It was very, very Bond. Yeah. Again, I just wish they'd stuck with one tone of James Bond all the way through. But yeah, he was brilliant. I didn't think he was going to be.
The flirty platonicness of it.
Yeah,
like because there was flirting, but then they were like, "We're just friends."
But did you not ask yourself every time they spoke? have these two slept together?
Yeah.
All the way through.
All the way through. Yeah.
Something's happened
Every
here.
single time.
Yeah, or it's going to happen.
I mean, if Natasha saw anybody sleeping in a bed, I feel like she'd go mental. So there's got to be a lot of trust there for her to walk into that caravan and he's there and she just makes a joke out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because she'd just be on edge straight away, wouldn't she? Yeah, there's definitely something going on with them. But again, it's like we won't ever get to see it. Hopefully, it'll be like the awkwardness between him and Yelena going forward. Yeah, because she should, I think Florence Pugh's obviously going to pop up in loads of other things now. Yeah, but again, maybe they'll take the right route and give her a series. Yeah, I think the series is where it's at now, though. To be fair, to be perfectly honest, I think they've done such a good job of it. Yeah, I like the series. Last character then, who isn't in it loads. Thaddeus Ross, William Hurt as General Ross. He's in it. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? General Ross.
What did he do?
He's the guy.
Remind me.
Senator Ross, the guy who's chasing.
With the little tash.
With the tash. He was in Hulk and he was in Civil War. Civil War? Yeah, Civil War and Infinity War. He's the guy who starts as Covia Records. Have you watched the MCU, Anthony?
Yeah, I have. Why would I remember characters like that?
Because he's like a pretty big character. He's a pretty big character. He's like the Hulk's arch nemesis.
Well, he's a bit of a pain in the ass, though, wasn't he? Like,
he was a pain in the ass. He was a pain. He's supposed to be a pain in the ass.
I'm going to clear this up right now. Yeah, The Incredible Hulk. I've watched it once, and I've never watched it again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like Hulk.
I could take it or leave it if I'm honest.
You can with the MCU, can't you? You don't really need it. But again, he's from that. But I've got a theory here.
But there's three. You're gonna laugh at me. There's about three men that are of similar age to William Hurt. Yeah. That have a mustache that tend to look very, very similar, and I always get confused between them.
What? So you got William Hurt, Sam Elliott.
No,
so what's Sam Elliott from Ghost Rider doing chasing Black Widow?
I can't. But they're the kind of people where I can't remember their names, but I've seen them in several things each. If that makes sense. Yeah. And I think I just get them confused all the time. So sometimes I'll misremember and think that I've seen one of the other ones in it. Yeah. So I think that's what I've done with this one.
Okay.
That's all it is. I'm sorry.
I'll let you off. Well, he is my theory.
Oh, okay.
He's Thunderbolt Ross. That's where the Thunderbolt's name comes from.
Right,
the Bad Avengers. Yeah. And obviously I think people are sort of... The theory, particularly with Madam Hydra, is that he's putting this team together. No, not for hair. Basically is to act as his own personal Avengers, but they're all basically bad guys. Or not bad guys, but not good guys. Anti-heroes sort of things. So he's going to have like Yelena. He'll have... what's his face from Falcon and the Winter Soldier? US agent. Crimson Chin from that, yeah. Zemo potentially in it as well. Yeah. But I know, right, as soon as he came on the screen, I said this to you. I turned to you and went, William Hurt looks old.
He did. He did look old.
He looks old, like really old. Yeah. He's 69. He was 69 when he filmed this. So he's not that old. I mean, it's old, isn't it? 69, but he's not that old. And then I was thinking, and this is where my theory's coming in. There's a point to this, I promise. Scarlett Johansson, Natasha makes a point of how old he looks. Yeah. And she says something like, "You're not looking too hot yourself. Isn't this your second triple heart bypass or something like that?" And he looks rough as. Yeah. Like really ill. And I don't think William Hurt really looks like that. If you think back to the trailers, and I checked this today, in the trailers, they've de-aged him in the trailers. So he looks about 40 in the trailers. Yeah. So I think people thought this must be flashbacks to when he was a lot younger. Because I went back today and watched it, and he looks much younger. Not like to the point where it's not William Hurt. It's like, like how when they made Rachel Weisz look young. Yeah. So I think they've aged him for the film and made him look really old, and they've sort of covered it up in the trailers.
Do you think then that they're gonna do some sort of storyline where maybe he's putting the Thunderbolts together, he's on his deathbed, and Madam Hydra kind of takes over it and makes them more bad than...
Well, in the comics, he's Red Hulk. He becomes Red Hulk in the comics.
Oh, okay.
So I think this is him dying. So this is why he's putting this team together, because he wants to try and find the serum, or to replicate the serum. To do it, I think that's it. He was I think it's been sort of obviously that they're putting the team together anyway of the Thunderbolts. People are saying the Dark Avengers, but I just don't think they'd use the name the Dark Avengers in the MCU because it just sounds a bit silly. Yeah. Whereas the Thunderbolts would, maybe they wouldn't even call it that, but I think that's the type of team they're going for. But I don't get why you de-age him in the trailer to cover up the fact that he looks like shit. Yeah, he looks that bad. If it was just William Hurt getting on and he's not very well, but he's come back in for the film,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have made a point of him
saying
looking
it all.
like crap.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're really pushing towards something here. And with him becoming Red Hulk in the comics, I
Do you
think
reckon
that's what they're setting up
Do
with.
you reckon that might come up in She-Hulk then?
Potentially, yeah. I wonder whether he's trying to get hold of Abomination.
Yeah.
To get, because Abomination's going to be in She-Hulk as well, isn't he? So
Yeah.
that's my theory, though. I think we're going to get a Red Hulk.
Exciting.
It is exciting. I'm hoping I'm going to be right with this one. Right, so characters done then. So let's talk about the action scenes. There's lots of action scenes.
There's a lot of
all
action.
the way through this. They're all good. Pretty
Yeah.
There's a few bits with the end one, with the
Yeah,
last
you
one
went
that I
happy with
pointed
the
out.
last one.
But yeah, I mean the first one, when we're not going into massive detail with them, but the first one with when Taskmaster attacks the car and shoots
Oh
them.
my
up at
god,
the
that
top.
came out of nowhere.
Jumped out of my skin.
shit my pants. I properly jumped out of my seat.
You're just sitting there listening to Sia in the car, and all of a sudden,
Like, it really
this thing-
comes out of nowhere,
It
doesn't
does, doesn't it? Yeah. But that whole
Like,
fight.
normally, this is the thing that shocks me, right? So, for the past 20 years, when I've been watching any scene like this, when somebody gets taken out like that in a car, the camera angle that you usually get is the cameraman is on the passenger seat and it's pointing at the driver, and then suddenly it comes out of a side road and hits them, and that's kind of how you do it.
Yeah.
Whereas this, we actually had a long shot, but we still didn't see it coming
No,
until
no.
it struck, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was just out of nowhere. I cacked my pants, and it was just
I
amazing.
jumped.
I
I
was
jumped
like,
as well, to be
okay,
fair.
we're back in it again
It's
now.
at proper action now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole fight between Natasha and Taskmaster,
Brilliant.
Again,
Yeah,
one
she was
to
having,
one.
You could see straight away she was having to think for her moves, because that's
Oh,
when
yeah.
she used gadgets, because she was watching the Taskmaster was essentially
Copying everything.
everything.
And
mirroring
that's it.
each
That
move.
that shot where they both jump up, they
Yeah.
both, like do the flip off the backs and land
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh shit,
Yeah.
what are you gonna
Meta
do?
match, what happens here?
And then but then he can jump to Captain America or Hawkeye and all that sort
Yeah.
of stuff. Yeah, so that was really good scene. We also then got kind of like a trip, like a double fight. So we had Natasha it was in Budapest. Was it Budapest? It was, wasn't it?
Budapest. Thank you very
Budapest.
much.
So Natasha versus Yelena,
Yeah.
which felt a little bit stupid because they
It
were
did
fighting.
feel a little
it was
bit
just
stupid.
they just went in and started going at each other straight away.
I didn't understand why Elena got the knife. I thought that was a
Yeah.
bit much.
I agree. Yeah, because
I
it was
thought that
like
was overkill.
yeah, it seemed like not banter, but a bit like testing each other's skills
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah.
Not quite trust each other.
Yeah.
So, but we're gonna have like a bit of
But
a.
then once the knife came out,
It was like,
that's
whoa,
too
she's
far
going for the
now.
kill now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I when she picked it up, I thought, is she going to sort of like not really go for the kill? But literally, as soon as she
Yeah.
grabs it, it's like she would have chopped her head off.
Yeah.
So it's like, it just didn't make sense. And the fact that they just then go, truce,
Yeah.
it's all right now.
It
It's
was-
all right. And
yeah.
they're just having a gab. It's just like, it just seemed a bit.
It just peaked a bit too high.
It was just
in the
that
fight.
knife. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the knife. If it had just been them attacking each other, it'd have been all right.
Yeah.
But then straight after though, with the group of widows attacking,
Yeah.
that way it just got
Amazing.
really good again. And
Yeah.
the bike chase and the car chase.
Yeah.
Yelena
Fantastic.
like knocking the bike out with the and do you know what? When they get on the bike and then the big, basically like the armored car
Yeah.
just comes swinging around the side, it was just
And I was like, why aren't you moving already? Like,
go
you're
go.
taking ages
You
to
got
get
into
going.
it, didn't you? It
Yeah.
was dead intense.
Yeah, yeah.
And then again, when the widow at the end, she died. She shoots herself in the head, doesn't she? 'Cause
Yeah.
she's getting controlled by Dreykov.
Yeah.
Again, the whole sort of like how devastated Nat looked.
Yeah.
Which
Can
is
we
what
just
isn't her.
address though that chimney? Because that was brilliant.
When they got onto it and flew over it?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
detachment of it from the wall, and then it just kind of swinging.
It was
like,
great.
Yeah, that's
It was good.
amazing. Really enjoyed it.
And then the next big action scene was the prison scene,
Which was just
which is amazing. The whole scene in the prison is great.
literally watching him sitting there, like just doing arm wrestling and just beating everyone within a second, and then this giant grok comes up,
Yeah.
and then he just sits down with him, and then he actually snaps his wrist, and you just see it hang. I
He's
was
not
like,
even paying attention. He's not even like
No.
all these arm wrestles. He's just not paying any attention
I
whatsoever.
really thought he was going to play to it at first, you know, when he sees how big he is, and go, and just be like a little bit, but he just didn't, and he just still went.
It's not asked. Just
Yeah.
like, how dare you calling me a liar? Bang, just snap your arm. But then
Loved
it's
it.
like how hard he is,
Can
and
we-
then the guards are all just like, no, do one. Get lost. No one is paying any attention to him, like guard-wise, but he's like hard as nails completely.
And I loved it because you see the guards kind of be a little bit smug with him and stuff like that, being a bit arsey. And then how easily he breaks out.
Oh yeah, it's like he could have done this all along. He's chosen
not to this whole time, and that's what makes me laugh about it, because they've all been like taking the piss out of him all the way through and stuff like that, and then suddenly he's like literally smashing that plaster sheet thing, grabbing the guards through,
ripping doors off,
and then she was like, "Don't draw attention to yourself." And he's like,
"Already done it. Already done it." Yeah. and do you know what we've missed? I missed it. How I've missed it when we talked about Elena, but the whole thing, when it just reminded me. Obviously, we get the conversation between them later on, like of talking about the uterus is getting ripped out and all that sort of stuff. Don't really want to talk about it anymore, but. Nat, when she jumps off the helicopter and she lands with the whole pose thing by Elena all the way through, running joke all the way through.
It's when she does it herself and then does that like afterwards.
The very first time she did it, she's like, "How you do this thing?" And she gets on the floor and starts like whipping her hair back and stuff like that. It just looks so awkward, and it's so good. Just the way she did it, it's like she's obviously got the ability to do it properly, because she does it well when she goes bleh at the
all
start.
I could hear in the background is Rihanna's song. I wanna where she's whipping her hair. That's all I could hear in my head.
It was so fun. And again, it did go all the way through. And normally, sometimes running jokes are a little bit stupid and overused. But it
worked.
All the way through. Yeah. And literally, you knew she was going to say something as soon as she landed and did that pose.
I didn't know whether she was going to go, "Oh, actually, that
was
felt
alright."
Actually,
and
then
I get that now.
Just goes,
absolutely amazing.
I love the hot-headedness of her as well.
Yeah.
So everyone starts shooting at her and she's like, "I'm not taking this shit." And then she just pulls out this bazooka on the back of the helicopter, shoots the tower, and then causes that avalanche, which I just thought was a brilliant addition to the whole scene.
She's got no fear whatsoever. No. She's like she says, when the avalanche comes down, she's like, "Oh, this would be a cool way to die." Yeah. And it's like, she's quite happy. If she dies, she's just not bothered at all. And that's why she's such a threat. Yeah. Because she doesn't care if she dies. And
I think that is also going to be a big thing if she becomes one of the...
Yeah, she's just going to be like... Yeah. It's basically Black Widow 2.0. Just as hard, but even more ruthless. Because I think she'll develop more of a caring attitude as we go through.
More of a soft side.
Bit more empathy.
Well, you see the soft side anyway, because when they're in that family dynamic, she wants the family.
Yes.
So she
can switch it on at the right time, can't she? Yeah. And then which is why she's going to be dead dangerous.
Yeah.
Talking about the last fight scene then, or the whole action scene, so it's basically them when they take down.
When we find out the Red Room is in the sky.
Yeah. It got a bit silly, didn't it?
Yeah.
Do you not think with it floating? I mean, we've got helicarriers and it's absolutely fine, and you don't even question it. It just felt a little bit stupid.
Yeah.
The whole thing, and. Again, it felt a little bit rushed. It all felt a little bit elaborate with like the face masks coming off and all that sort of stuff. And she couldn't hit Dreykov, and so she had to break her own nose to do it. And it just all felt a little bit.
Yeah. What was it? Sever the
nerve.
Yeah.
Because you can't smell the pheromones or something like that. Yeah. And I get it. It made sense. Like, but
do you know? I must admit. Okay. So again, I'm really not trying to like slag the film off or anything. But the one thing I found disappointing was that it was mind control.
Yes.
And I feel like we've been there, we've done that. We're currently doing it in Loki.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I understand it, you know. And I'm also just going to point out now, while we're talking about the mind control stuff.
Yeah.
The Mind Stones were the things that were missing in the drawers.
Yes.
And it's something that's just crossed my mind about. There's a lot of mind stuff going on in Loki, and then in Black Widow as well. But I just felt like we're just going over old territory, and it's like, can we do something a bit new?
It felt like a bit of a cop out.
Yeah,
it's like what can we do? Mind control. Yeah. They're all being mind controlled. It worked better. I mean, it was easier. It was an easy way to sort of wrap it up. But the whole like how it's like, even Yelena says, it's like to Nat, you were controlled. You were mind controlled through psychological pressure and testing and pushing and stuff like that. That's how he controlled you. Now he doesn't. He just controls your mind with like some gas or powder or whatever. And it just felt like a bit cheap. And like, we can solve this at the very end, bang, like that, and it's done. Like the Chitauri did a little bit in Avengers 1. It's like you blow up the mothership and they all die. It was like that, wasn't it? It was like you spray this gas in the face and they're all good again all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why it felt rushed.
Yeah.
Because it felt like they had to find something to sort of make the story work, and worked.
Did you know there was a deleted scene in Endgame where they're showing the stuff from the first Avengers film, and Rocket says, "Why didn't you just kill the mothership? Because you know that kills all the others." And they were like, "We didn't know."
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
So there's a whole deleted scene with it, and Rocket's like pissing himself laughing on the sofa
watching
this.
Amazing.
Going, "Are you idiots? Like, how did you not know?" And they were like, we didn't know that was a thing.
You're gonna have, again, it's a similar situation there. And again, because I said this to you on the way out, I think it was just that ending. As soon as they got outside, it just didn't look good.
No.
The whole, like, the Florence Pugh running from the fire was just, like, there's just a moment where it was just a shot of her running in slow motion away from the fire, like, front on. And that seemed a bit like, oh, that's a bit, classic. It is classic, like, Bond film, but just doesn't look great.
Yeah.
When she jams the staff into the engine and blows the plane up, that didn't look good.
Do you know what it reminded me of?
What?
Wonder Woman in DC.
I haven't really watched them.
No, just
cheesy.
The way it kind of throws when she kind of does the backflip and it goes into slow motion as she does it. Like, it was just that. It's a trick that they use with Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
In both films.
I mean, it was good. It was, it wasn't. It was good.
Bad.
It was a good. The sequence was good. Like her, like flying down, chasing Yelena down, and like basically fighting Taskmaster in the midair and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Just didn't look good.
Well, you said CGI wise. You said that there was one point when they were together and their hair
wasn't going up.
No.
And it just looked like they were in front of a green screen.
And I must admit, I didn't notice it at the time.
I'm starting to doubt myself now, but I'm pretty certain when Nat grabs Yelena and puts the parachute on her, because she does. She puts the parachute. She literally straps the parachute onto her, which is fine. I'm alright with that.
The thing is, though, were they facing head down, and we were just looking at them
the right
way up? Do you know what I mean?
Potentially, but it just didn't look like there was much. It didn't look particularly windy when they must be flying down like 100 miles an hour, and it just didn't look like looked like they were in front of a green screen, dangling down, doing this thing, and it just looked really like that. But that again, it's not that it was bad. It just took me out of it. Yeah, it just took me out of it, and it should have been a brilliant end sequence. I really enjoyed the full bit of the fight, so I wasn't particularly into the whole thing being in the sky, but I think it was more just kind of the jumping from pieces of debris and stuff like that. And then I just thought it was amazing. It was just that just took me out of it. Yeah. To the point where I can't really remember what happened because I was focused on that so much. And it just didn't look realistic enough. Yeah. There were a few shots that looked a little bit CGI heavy, like a few shots of like Natasha.
When you know that it's not actually Scarlett Johansson.
Because it can't be. Yeah. They looked a bit plasticky.
They did.
Yeah, looked like a bit like a PS1 game.
That a few times.
A couple of times, yeah. But again, it was good all in all. It just took me out of it. Yeah. Post credit scene then. Kind of saw it coming when we didn't get Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the rest of the film. Because we've been told she was originally going to be introduced in Black Widow, and then we didn't see her throughout the entire film. I think I got to the end, like the very end of the film, before the credits rolled, and remembered at that point we've not seen her yet, and thought they must have just cut her out, because it probably doesn't fit with the story, maybe because it's supposed to be the introduction to her, and then as soon as we got to the post credit scene, which is obviously set present day or 2023, 2024, and you see that it's Nat's grave, I was just like, here comes Madam 100%, here comes Madam Hydra, and within 10 seconds Madam Hydra's there, and I'm really excited for what it's going to set up, because this team is getting put together. There's no way we have got a Thunderbolt. But I loved it. It's like, it's so similar to the way Nick Fury started popping into stuff and doing the recruitment, and I just love the way it will be Dark Avengers, because it is just the Dark Avengers, isn't it? It's the bad Avengers, but the fact that she's going after Clint as well, there's a lot of people who don't like Hawkeye. A lot
is
of
that?
MCU fans who don't like Hawkeye.
Why?
Yeah. The young, I don't know. It's like the younger generation of MCU fans whose
Oh,
first
okay.
movie was like Age of Ultron or something like that, and they've gone back and watched them. There's a lot of people who don't like Hawkeye. I don't get it.
I
I
like
don't
him.
get it. I've got into proper like to
But
do with people
like,
on Twitter because they
I can't
hate him.
remember I can't remember the actor's name, but I like him. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen him in a couple of comedies and stuff as well, and he's very, very good.
He's brilliant. He is.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic actor. But it's going to be weird. It's got to tie into the Hawkeye series, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That's got to be the next thing because he's going to be in it. We've got the new Hawkeye, Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
And then she's going to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, I reckon Elaine will turn up in Hawkeye.
Yeah. So it was good. It was good post credit scene.
Yeah.
Not what I thought it was going to be.
No.
Not as big as I thought it was going to be.
No, I
perhaps,
thought it was going to be bigger.
but still good. I think when I saw what it was for a split second, I was like, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
And then it got very like, oh, okay, this is setting Hawkeye up. This is going to be good. But yeah, all in all, I thought it wasn't a perfect film.
No.
It wasn't a perfect film. It had its faults.
Yeah.
But most films do.
I'd give it a solid 7.
I put 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Definitely, as I said, we've already done it in non-spoilers, but 100% worth watching. I'm not sure I'll buy it on Disney Plus.
No. I won't.
I think I'm all right.
I mean,
It's not like a multiple viewing sort of movie.
No.
It doesn't need it.
No.
It doesn't need it, and it's not got. I think for a movie,
if I go back to watch stuff chronologically, I'll watch it.
Yeah,
I won't skip
definitely.
it or anything, but it won't be like a standalone where I'll go, oh, I fancy watching that.
No, I
this
agree.
time. Do you
But
know
I think it's purely because, I mean, I think it's not very often I sit there and go, I'm going to watch an MCU film and pick them at random. What I tend to do is I'll go, right, okay, we're starting the MCU again. And I'll start at Iron Man, I'll work my way through.
Yeah.
There are films, though, where I will watch them at random, but they're like the event movies. So the event, not even Avengers 2, Avengers 1, Infinity War and Endgame, Black Panther maybe. It's event movies, big movies, whereas this wasn't a big event movie, but it was never supposed to be a big event movie.
Yeah.
It was a completing of the story arc, and it's a vital part of the story. And as an MCU we'd watch it.
The one thing that we didn't talk about is obviously kind of the family unit at the end and how they kind of they finish the story off well, and they're like, oh, we hope to see you again, blah blah blah. And we know they're not going to see Natasha again because that's it.
Oh yeah,
like, so that not choked me up or anything, but it hit me a bit hard because I was like, oh, well, no, you're not. That's it. Like, this is probably the last interaction you've got with any of them.
Exactly.
And that again, we talked about handing the vest over because we see her with the vest on
in
Infinity War and Endgame, but we didn't know what the thing was with it until the advert for Black Widow. So I was kind of like, I like the way they've done that because there's already something that they've done in the past that relates to something here, and that continuity thing. Even down to the hair dye. Yeah, she was looking at dyeing her hair blonde.
At the very start, yeah, she was.
And then she finally does it at the end, and then we already had her in Infinity War with blonde hair,
exactly.
And then it growing out by.
So you know it's coming.
Endgame, yeah, and I just those little things now that are just connecting the dots and stuff. I loved.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. As I said, solid movie. Enjoyed it. Yeah. Just waiting for the next one now. Shang-Chi next.
Yeah, Shang-Chi.
Finish Loki, Shang-Chi.
Why are Abomination and Wong fighting?
Exactly.
I want to know what's going on.
Exactly. It's all building to the Thunderbolts. I do think this is all the series. We shouldn't be doing this in the Black Widow review, but all these series are dropping Thunderbolts. Yeah. It's basically like the Avengers, where in the first couple of Avengers movies, it's all
Do you reckon
dropping.
they'll then do a Thunderbolt series, or do you reckon it'll be in the movies?
I don't know. I kind of want a series.
Yeah.
I want like a Suicide Squad style series. Yeah, where we get loads in it. Should we do the wrap up then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, well, thanks for listening to the show. Don't forget to come back next week on Friday for our review of Loki, the finale. Oh, devastated.
I know.
You can find all our episodes at thatsuperherothing.com, and as well as obviously like Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. You'll also find all our social media links there as well. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can contact us on any of our socials and submit thoughts and theories for next week's Podfans Assemble. It feels weird we didn't do a Podfans Assemble for this.
I know, yeah.
Because we couldn't, because I don't think anyone's seen it at this point. If you've enjoyed the show, please do consider rating and reviewing it. It really does help us get seen by more people. And other than that, that's the end of the bonus episode. So again, thanks very much for listening, and
cheers,
we'll
guys.
see you next time.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.